I always prefer to learn things in private because then if I fail, no one's gonna know except me. My name is Dara, also known as Dish. I've always wanted to learn to draw. Pretty much since I was a kid. I remember wanting to be a fashion designer, and I can distinctly remember this asymmetrical red dress that I drew one time. I've tried to learn a few times and have usually given up, either from lack of motivation or discouragement or just not knowing where to start. A couple weeks ago, I bought an iPad on a whim. I've decided that this time I'm actually gonna do it. I want to be able to make graphics for myself. I want to be able to design my own merch. I want to make comics and I want to make little chibi characters of my friends. But I also just want to prove that I can. Not because I have a chip on my shoulder or something, but because for so long I've believed it's something that I'm not able to do. A lot of times we see the finished product and we don't see the process, and we don't see obviously the years of work that it took to learn that skill, right? It's easy to get discouraged. So while I'm learning, I'm also going to turn this into a 1-year YouTube series. And as uncomfortable as it makes me to start learning something difficult in front of people, I want to do it for that reason. I want to show the vulnerability of learning something difficult. My main objective with this series is, one, to keep myself accountable and to stretch myself, but also to hopefully inspire anyone who watches it to learn the difficult thing that they want to learn. And if it is digital art, maybe we can learn together. I talked to my artist friend Rachel, and she told me to be determined in my results, but flexible in the process. And because I'm going into this with almost no idea what to expect, I can't even really give you a roadmap for what this is going to look like, but I'm going to start with learning the essential principles of art: color theory, light and dark, shape, texture, anatomy. Obviously these concepts can't be perfected in a week, but that's where I'm going to start. So for whatever reason you clicked on this video, welcome. I hope that at the very least this can serve as entertainment, but also something to inspire you as well. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. So welcome to Dish or Dara learning digital art in 1 year. Start. Okay, week 1. Let's do this thing. Okay, so I have a list here of concepts that I need to learn as a complete beginner to art. Here, color theory, light and dark, shapes, texture, perspective, form, rhyme, rhythm. I spelled rhythm wrong on here. Balance, value. So essentially how each video is going to work is I'm going to pick a concept at the beginning of the week, and I'm going to practice all week, and I'll show you what that practice looked like. I'm going to stream it too, so I'm going to draw live, which is a bit nerve-wracking. I think my plan is at the end of each video, I'm going to draw the same thing, and hopefully I'll be able to compare the first drawing of said thing to the last one to see how far we've come in 1 year. I should probably pick what that item is. I could draw a plant. I don't know. Maybe I should do a self-portrait. Maybe I should draw myself. That would be challenging, right? Drawing your own face. I hear that's anatomy and drawing faces is one of the hardest parts, so I think that's what I'll do. I think the best thing I can do is just pick a concept, watch a ton of videos, and practice. That's what every artist I have talked to keeps telling me, is that it's just practice. Just lots of practice. Okay, so I think for my first concept, I should learn about... My friend told me about this cool video about how anything can be broken down into shapes. I think I'm gonna start with shape. Wish me luck. So I went to YouTube and I started looking stuff up, and I found 6 Steps to Draw Anything by Proco. And essentially what he talked about was how basically any complex object can be broken down into simple shapes, aka a square, a circle, or a cylinder, and therefore you need to master those shapes in order to build a complex object. I took copious notes. This was really my first introduction to any sort of formal art training outside of, I think, one class I took in high school. So I paid attention, and then I started to just work on the simple shapes that he talked about. One of the most encouraging things about this video was that he said you don't actually have to be an expert in a particular thing to be able to draw it, because if you're able to break it down and it's into its simplest shapes, you should be able to draw it. So I pretty much just spent probably an hour just practicing these shapes and trying to understand how perspective interacts with shape, how to manipulate these shapes, and how to really show the dimensionality of just simple items. And I also started binge watching The Failure of Victorious. I've heard artists talk about how much they appreciate video essays, and I'm starting to understand why. So I got bored of the shapes eventually, and I thought, what can I draw that's a bit more interesting but still is limited to the concept? So I decided to draw Kirby, the roundest boy I know. Unfortunately, I stopped recording midway through and I forgot to pick up a good portion of the coloring process. But yeah, I did my best to interpret the perspective on this, but I used the Procreate perspective tool, just to, like the warp tool, just to help me correct as much as I could. This was an interesting bit right here. I started to basically mimic the shading of what I saw in the image next to me, but then I realized that's not where the light source is coming from, so I did my best to show what it would look like if the light was coming from the back. Then I started drawing the star, and initially I was really wanting to make it look how it looked in the image, but that's definitely way out of my ability zone so far, so I didn't get discouraged and I just decided to basically mimic the vibe of the image. So you can see me here drawing the sword. This was definitely one of the harder parts. I feel like I didn't quite get the perspective right on this one, but it doesn't look ridiculous, so you know what, I'll take it. And here's the finished piece. After I finished this, I really started to feel like the barrier of entry was lifting. Drawing didn't feel impossible like it has felt in the past. Now let's jump to the part where I streamed drawing. I also have the Cult of David Dobrik. My chat was very sweet and excited to watch me and hang out with me while I was learning to draw. I had a bit more self-discipline this time, and I worked on simple shapes, didn't get too crazy, while we watched Genshin Impact lore videos. I started working on warping shapes, but it was honestly pretty hard. I gave this a couple tries.
Trying to understand the perspective of the shape I'm trying to make. To give this one a break. Break time, I'm gonna draw Kirby.
My chat so kindly provided references for me while I drew Kirby. This is pretty simple. I pretty much copied this straight from an image I found, but I introduced shading a little bit. I tried to draw an iteration of Party Kirby, which is this guy. It went okay. He's cute.
Hey, Kirby looks a little sus in these, but it's okay.
And then I drew a simple shape, and then I drew a simple shape again, and then I started drawing this box that everyone thought looked like a coffin. Took me a couple iterations to really get the perspective right and the sizing right.
Thought it was a coffin. I get it. It looks like a coffin. Okay, I want to turn this into like a hexagon type thing. Oh my gosh, it's like an Easter egg.
So I drew an Easter egg instead of the hexagon shape for some reason. Easily distracted, I guess. It was right before Easter, don't blame me.
I want to draw something like a cube that's like getting its waist snatched. Boom. Oh yeah, it looks like bow tie pasta. I don't think I'm ready to draw pasta.
But I started to draw pasta anyway. This one I was drawing without a reference, and I definitely felt like I just couldn't nail down the shape. So someone recommended I draw from a reference, and my second iteration was a lot better.
I feel like it still looks pretty two-dimensional, but I haven't learned shading yet, so I can't be too hard on myself. Hey, that's progress from squares to like... Maybe I should draw some anatomy.
I don't know why I jumped straight to anatomy. I think it just really intrigues me. It was hard.
Oh shoot, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. I'm so stupid. Damn, stupid.
I tried to draw the head, but I really felt way out of my league here. I worked a long time on the collarbone and could barely get that.
Wow, maybe her waist is like too snatched.
Yeah, gave the head a few tries.
Maybe I just won't, you know? Maybe I just won't try it. I'm just gonna draw the lines and move on with my life. That's a basketball, goodbye. I need to just go back to simple, I think, for the time being.
I was still pretty bored of the simple shapes, so I decided to draw this book about how to win your 50/50s. Obviously, everyone was so curious about the answer, and so I thought I'd draw the inside as well with that answer.
Would you still buy my book?
I think we're getting there. I spent the next few days just practicing shapes. I drew a couple things, which I'll include at the end of the video. Now let's move on to how I'm going to measure my progress. This is the footage from my very first self-portrait. I need to watch a video about how to draw a head. So we found another video from Proco, which essentially explained that the head is two shapes, joined together by lines connected through the ear and the eyebrow. Honestly, I still barely remember it, so I'm gonna have to work on this a bit more. I practiced just drawing this figure a couple times. I started to get nervous, so I procrastinated by drawing this weird wonky perspective city while we watched Animal Crossing lore.
I'm literally just procrastinating because I'm scared to do the portrait right now. Okay, I'm doing it.
I found a reference photo and basically applied the concept that I learned from the Proco video and had that as a starting point for my portrait. I really didn't give much thought to the style. I guess it's realistic, but yeah, this was... I really struggled on the details and wanting everything to be perfect. But I definitely felt like there was a difference in just how I felt about the process when I just started to do what felt intuitive and natural here. You'll actually see here I added borders to this image to help me just kind of frame my work. And then it really started to flow, and I'm honestly pretty happy with how this turned out for my first go.
Okay, I feel like this is coming together as like much as it can come together. I feel good about it so far. Obviously, it's pretty much just a copy of this one, but I feel like I got the gist of it, right? Originally was gonna give myself like 5 minutes or something to do this. No. I feel like the hardest part for me has been just like committing and like trusting my intuition a little bit and not being so like by the book about everything. Like the point of this is just to see like where have I progressed, like yeah, just like something quantifiable that I can look at each week and see like what have I learned, something that has helped me like just be able to create the things I want to create better. Actually, I kind of want to turn these into like bigger like lines. Maybe.
I worked on some details and added some shading here and there. It was honestly just hard to put the pen down. Like I had accomplished my goal for the most part, but I just every time I looked at it, I wanted to add something or change something or add some details here and there. It was hard to actually call it finished.
I'm calling it done. Calling it done. Gosh, I feel like I just want to like keep going back in and like changing stuff.
Thank you for watching my first week of
learning digital art, but just like training my brain and just learning art as a concept. At the beginning of this week, as excited as I was, I still felt so like, just like the barrier of entry just seemed so high because I didn't know where to start. Though I was like actively fighting this thought, I was still thinking, I still just didn't really believe that I could do it. But it was crazy to see, just even after like watching probably like an hour of educational footage, how much my perspective changed, and how just in taking a concept like perspective and shape and practicing it for a week made me feel so much more competent and gave me like my first block in these very long stairs of learning art. So I hope that in watching this, you guys feel also inspired to do what you need to do to break that barrier of entry on the thing that you want to learn. It is possible. I think that's what I've learned this week, is that it is possible to go from zero to get like from 0 to 1%. Next Monday, you can look forward to a video about my first experience learning color theory. So my guess is we're going to be making a lot of color palettes, combining everything I've learned so far with color theory. So get ready for some suffering, and feel free, if you want to, join my Twitch chat, watching mindless videos while I draw. Feel free to come join us. I stream almost 4 to 5 times a week around 12 p.m. PST. So twitch.tv/dish. Yeah. I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. And please subscribe if you would like to see the rest of the series. Please enjoy this carousel of all the things I drew this week.